folks. Welcome to my humble homestead in the forest. And today I'm coming to you from my outhouse. As you can see, when I say my outhouse, it is my outhouse, but the thing is that it's rarely ever been used. And is that Woody? Woody might make an appearance, my woodpecker friend. He'll come back. Yeah, so if this had smell-o-vision, you would know that there's no stinkiness or dark and dinginess about it. And I built this after having used other people's neighbors in my travels, whatever, outhouses, and I noticed how dark and dingy and stinky they were, and which is what I'm going to be tying that into today's show, which is just some of my experiences in over a decade, if not 11 years, of having lived off the grid on my homestead. Outhouse, is I figured if it's a necessary thing to have, which, like I said, we don't use because we're realistic homesteaders, so we have flushing toilets at the main building. But if before that we did use it when we were renting, we were using an outhouse, and I thought, well, an outhouse, if it's a necessary thing, does it have to be dark? Does it have to be tiny? Does it have to be stinky? And honestly, it didn't have to be. And if you had, like I said, if you had smell-o-vision, you would know that this doesn't stink. Even though we rarely use it, it could, even if it was used all the time, it would not be stinky because of how I've constructed it. Let's call it an outhouse 3.0, and how bright and airy it is. But that's just one of the elements. So today I wanted to talk about the good. Mosquito, stay over there. Stay over there. The good and the not so good, or the bad of living in the country, rural, off the grid in particular. If you're planning on making the transition, or just here to watch the show, or just want to learn some stuff. So I don't know, where do you want to start? The good or the not so good? Okay, let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the good first. It's a beautiful day. Let's talk about the good first. The good. If you are even on the spectrum of introvert, extrovert, in the middle or closer to the middle like I am, but on the introverted side, and you're not a big fan of people, and I suppose I like people, but I like the right kind of people, my kind of people, and I haven't had the pleasure of meeting too many of my kind of people, so I prefer this. Well, you can't see the wilderness, the forest, the trees, the wildlife, any day to my own kind. So, this is the place to be. It's peaceful. Well, listen. And it's quiet. The nature, the trees and the leaves. Every time I come out, I'm excited, just like a little kid. Every time I see a new leaf, a new flower, a new something, and I'm intrigued and I'm glued to it, and I love it. It's the smell of it, the smell of this breaking down cellulose, like an old bookstore. The smell of the soil, the decaying leaves, the moss and the mycelium and the mushrooms and everything. You can get down on the ground and smell it. When you see different size of ants maybe doing their things, and chipmunks doing their things, everything doing their things, and more respectful than my own species, especially in the city. And so the fresh air, the clean water. For instance, when we drill down to our aquifer to get fresh water, it's been filtered over 185 feet to this beautiful clear. When people from the city come here and I pour them a glass of water in a clear glass, I can't believe how clear it is. There's no chlorine in it. There's no even bits of cloudiness in the stuff that if you could take to a lab and break it down to its elements, you won't see harsh elements. You won't see other people's drugs that didn't get absorbed, or sometimes you see on TV, and that's probably because people actually do this. People are trying to quit drugs and medication or whatever. You always see them dump it down the toilet. Where do you think that goes? That doesn't get absorbed. It doesn't go to treatment plant. It goes to a treatment. The treatment plant can't take it all out of the water. That goes into the waterways and affects the chain. Whereas we are here by ourselves, and whatever you put in, whatever mess we make, whatever chemicals or whatever, that if you don't put it into the soil, you don't have to drink. You don't have to worry what your neighbors are doing, because you're far away from other people and other beings. And in nature, they're not gonna. If a bird dies or something dies, the rest of the nature attacks it, immediately dismantles it, bacteria, everything, and then within days it's gone. There's no stench, there's no stinkiness, there's no rotten flesh, there's nothing to get sick about. If you don't, there are mushrooms that I don't dare try. I'm not that adventurous. But some folks, I guess, are getting into this hallucinogenic mushrooms or whatever. But you can grow whatever you want here at the time of the year or indoors, and it would be what you want, exactly what you want, the thing. Or if you're more of a scientific mind, you can experiment and mix and match things. But these are some of the good things. More good things is that we are, as much as we can, independent of fossil fuels. So we use falling trees, leaning trees, dead standing trees, crowding trees every year for our firewood, to heat the house, to heat our water. And in the wintertime, when we don't in the wintertime, in the summertime, when we have right now, or 8-9 months of the year, when we have abundance of sun power, we use the sun power to heat our water. And our solar panels are now neutral, carbon neutral, in terms of having paid back what it took for them to be built. Sort of like when you buy an old car, it's carbon neutral. Old car though, but I don't know how many years it takes for a car to be carbon neutral, but less so for solar panels. We get to breathe this fresh air. That it just so happens that conifer forests, pine forests, whatever, are, my understanding is that are the cleanest, provide the cleanest air of all forests, even rainforest. I don't understand how, but that's what I've read. But I can sit here, even in this outhouse, which, like I said, doesn't get used. Take a deep breath and take in what the leaves, the air that the leaves are processing, the clearing, the lungs. I'm the lungs of, I guess, our planet. I know that the oceans are more like that, but when I go near an ocean, you can smell this salt in the water or maybe some algae. But here you don't have that. You just have the decaying leaves and the smell of just fresh smell of forest, especially in the morning after the night cooling. It gets, it's end of July now, and more sometimes at night it's 10, 11 degrees Celsius at night. So when that happens from the morning of say 30 degrees or so to the 10 degrees at night, and then you get this rush by convection almost of beautiful forest air that I remember as a child, if you drove by a little pocket of where they have little trees, I could smell it, the windows down. But here I just live in it. Some of the good things about what I love about being here. And we are the I was going to say the most populated neighborhood in the rural, as told to us by our mail delivery lady. But to be honest, I think we are the only neighborhood in the rural, because what a rural setting is, for some of you who don't know. So it's like if I'm right. So you have the urban, the city, metropolitans, and then you have the country, which is just outside of, however distance, however kilometers away from the city, and then you have the rural, which is about that much or that many kilometers away from the country. So we're away, and this can also fall under the not so good. Depends on where you sit. What definitions mean to you when you go outside of the city, outside of the country, now into the rural. Your closest neighbor could be minimum of a kilometer, if not 2 kilometers and more away from you, away from your house, in every direction. And so, whereas in our neighborhood, which, like I said, could be the only neighborhood in the rural, there's 75 of us, which translates to something like 26 properties, 26 dwellings, if you will. And so when our mail lady normally would have to, if she has, say, like 100 letters to deliver, she would have to drive maybe 100 kilometers to deliver 100, well, if there's across the road, maybe 50 kilometers to deliver these 100 letters. Whereas here, if she has 100 deliveries, 100 mail deliveries to do, or in particular 75, she can do it in one neighborhood. Okay, so that's the thing. We are 75 people, even though we're 75 people, or 26, I should say, addresses in something like 1,000 acres. 1,000 acres, which translate to something like a neighborhood in the city would probably be maybe 50 acres, 100 acres at the most, and maybe 5,000 people would live there. The city that we lived in before we moved here. Whereas here, we have 75 people on say 1,000 acres. But because we're all mostly concentrated in a sort of a 1 to 2 kilometer radius, many of us are close, like clusters are closer as opposed to sparsely distanced apart. So she can deliver her deliveries in maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes and go. And there's no traffic. Oh, that's the other thing. Another good thing about being in here, and or even our proximity to our nearest town, which is Woodstock. That's the other thing. 45-minute drive, or about 100 kilometers away. That's a city of about 5,000 people. 10,000 if you include the vicinity area around it, surrounding it. And it has something like 4, maybe 5 streetlights, never traffic, and the streetlights are like how I like it, even though if like a main artery if you can call it, going one way, and then if someone wants to cross it, if there's no one there, it changes the light and it recognizes that someone's waiting, even though there's no one crossing, because that's how slow it is. It changes the light so you can go. It's not like you have to sit there and wait, or there's traffic that you're behind. It has the few big stores and a few banks and a few gas stations and whatever the main things, a library, courthouse, some government offices, federal and provincial, and of course municipal. So it's everything someone would need The bad, well, we're not getting into the bad thing yet. We're still talking about good thing. We are able to, because the prices are lower here where we live. I mentioned in this another video, the prices of real estate, be it a house or land, is much lower here, maybe a third or a quarter of what it is just an hour and a half south of us, same province, or 2.5 hours north of us, which is another province, Quebec. So we're able to have some acreage here so we can roam around, garden, plant trees or whatever you want. If you want to do hoop gardens or aquaponics or build maybe other structures to rent out, like a holiday guest things, that kind of thing. You can, because the money you save on the purchase of the property, you can put into doing that, which you cannot do anywhere near any city, not just in New Brunswick, but anywhere else. You still, like in the neighborhood, that if you like your neighbors, you can get together for potlucks and hikes and whatever, so you're not alone, as opposed to if you're by yourself. Outside of this particular neighborhood, even your next neighbor is 2 kilometers away. If you go into town, if you want someone to watch your house, it's been safe here, no break-ins or anything, but the world is changing, climate is changing. Say you want to go on a trip here, not uncommon that a neighbor would watch someone else's pets or maybe house sit or things like that. Or if they're away for the winter, maybe somebody can heat the house once a day so the pipes don't freeze, that kind of thing. Hey, mosquito, I see ya. Good things. Good things. Like I said, we were independent. That's one of the biggest things for me. Hey. One of the not so good things are the bugs, like this mosquito. You live in the forest, mosquitoes, those off and all those horrible repellents, bug repellents and things, even the natural ones, they were made, why? They were made for when people are going outside. And now I live outside. Let's just get into what's bad, and if more good things come to mind, I'll tell you. I don't rehearse these videos, so I don't write them down, script or anything. So bad things, yeah, I was saying that city is 60 kilometers or 45 minutes drive. That city of Woodstock. If you're going to Fredericton, hour and a half drive, about 200 kilometers away. The airport is even farther, so maybe 230 kilometers away. Your family and friends, I don't have a whole lot, but if you do and you're close to them, well, they're not going to be anywhere near where you live, even if you're in the same province, which most of the time, if you're watching this, you're probably not. You're probably in another city or another country. So they're going to be within flying distance, and if you have to go to another country from here, you have to fly to a big city, like Montreal, Ottawa, whatever, and then from there catch an international flight or a bigger flight to go elsewhere. And those all take time, including, not to mention, the layovers and when you transfer flights, and if there are any delays or bad weather, all of those to be taken into consideration. If you are, this is one of the biggest things I wanted to make this video about. You can fall into good or bad. You decide what it means to you. You may have seen, I'm pretty sure you have, these videos that are, I don't want to say unscrupulous people, but Woody. Come on, Woody. More. Actually, you may not be able to hear him because I'm sitting inside and the microphone's inside. So sorry if you can't hear it. You might have seen people build. First of all, let's talk about these mini homes. These mini homes, folks, are one of the most unrealistic things you can have. If you're sitting in the city on your couch in a metropolitan urban area, you're thinking, "Wow, this is so beautiful and whimsical and little micro thing." And I want one, whatever, and it's cheap, and I can't afford my house. I hear you. All of that justified, all true. But the thing is, In my 11 years of here, I've seen a lot of people come and go. I said 75 people are here now, but I've seen more like 200 people come and go. Do you know what I mean? It's not that I've only seen 75 people. When we arrived here, there were only 26 of us. And when I say I've seen 200 people come, stay here, and go, see, you hear an occasional car. Can you hear that? It's one of my neighbors. Yeah, yeah. He's pulling his tractor, and now it's hay time. So people, because it's dry end of the summer, you might have, if you have hay fever, you might get that. So these hay bales, sometimes they come in like a rectangular shape, sometimes in like a big circle called silage. You might have seen the pictures out on the field some people take and post. And so they harvest it now, and they keep it for their livestock, and they put it away, and they wrap it or tarp it or put it inside a barn. And that's what he's doing right now. And that's what all the farmers are doing pretty much anywhere in the northern hemisphere. It's time to harvest their hay. That's what he's doing, Daryl. He's the one, by the way, that does our snow plowing. If you've seen the videos with this big tractor, because you can't push that much snow, even though it's fluffy 90% air snow. There's so much of it. Anyway, well, that's the other thing. That's a bad thing if you have to shovel it. I shovel as much as I can at 56, as much as I can, but then there becomes a time where driveway gets narrower, 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 then I have to call the big guns. He comes and does it. Or sometimes it could be heavier snow. We normally don't get heavier snow, only like the beginning of the winter and the end of winter when it's warmer. And those are very heavy, like for me, and that's the kind of heavyweight snow that most people get elsewhere, and which is like 80% water and 20% air, and that stuff, the temperature drops overnight, that becomes all ice. So you got to kind of do it before it becomes a sheet of thick ice skating rink. So that's a bad thing, I guess. Good thing is that it's cold and it keeps the ticks at bay. We still don't have any ticks yet. Fingers crossed. Maybe this year, I don't know. But also it kills a lot of bugs and larvae and whatever, that insects that were laid in the fall or summertime. That kind of cold, that kind of snow, that length of winter, that's a good thing. So maybe I should do good and bad at the same time. So these little homes that you see people have, I've never seen. There's only one in the neighborhood, and she keeps expanding it, because you know what it is, folks. We are all, I don't just mean people here, we all have things, stuff. And so even if you travel in even if you have that mini home it's like a trailer, short form of a home that you pull on behind your truck or something, you go to places, fairs and whatever, you buy like a little knick-knack, miniature painting or whatever, and from town to town to town, all of a sudden in 1 year you have your stuff. Where do you put that stuff? You know what I mean? And so it's a romantic idea that to think that anyone can live in a tiny home, 100, 200, 300 square foot home. You cannot. I've not seen that happen. Anyone that's done that here has ended up the year after, 2 years after, expanding it, additions, adding to the other sides of it. I actually, when I drive in the highway and some backcountry roads, I see how when the pioneers came, they would build a small home, because when they arrived here, there was nothing. There were no roads, nothing. Canada's only 200-300 years old, but still there was nothing, and the vast country. So they had only a limited time to build a very small, and oftentimes maybe even log cabins. And they're labor intensive to build that, plow their field, get it ready for next year, all those things, take care of the kids, all of those things had to be done immediately. So they would build what they could, and the year after. So when I sometimes drive by, my point is that I see a cluster of little buildings, because they didn't have much money to start a big building. They didn't have the crew. There was no one else here. And you had to wait for the kids to be old enough to get. That's why a lot of people had 6, 12. I know someone that has 12 siblings. And it doesn't happen anymore like that, but still, from time to time I see 6 kids, to help them build structures, to help them with the, cheap labor, I guess you can call it, or free labor, child labor, whatever. So build a bigger house, and insulation is another thing. nobody that I know talks about insulation. I don't understand why. Because if you live in a desert, somewhere in California, Death Valley, in Iran, Middle East, wherever, it's hot. Somewhere between 60 to 80 degrees Celsius plus. And so if you have insulation, it will keep your house interiors cool, protected from the heat of the outside. Now there you want to position your house so that you have little to no windows on the south side where the sun's the strongest, maybe more of a overhang, so that overhang becomes an awning and shades your house, since you can't really have trees around you because it's so dry. Conversely, here you want your house to have as many windows as it can on the south side, called solar positioning, and so that you can capture as much sun as you can. But even in a colder climate, say like Arctic Circle, for a second I thought Antarctica, but nobody really lives there, just the research centers, and those scientists don't build anything, so it's all done for them, modular things. So let's go to Arctic Circle, where actually people live. In Canada, that would be the Iqaluit, Nunavut, yeah. So there you also want to have lots of insulation to protect you from the cold. So, and anywhere in between, you might say, well, I live in a four-season country. Why do I need insulation? Well, the thing is, the more insulation you have, the more comfortable you'll be, the less resources you'll need to heat or cool your house. Now, where we are, this is 9 years ago's price, we spent $20,000 on insulation. Today's price, $40,000, because everything's gone up. It's so much, so fast. Probably precedent setting. So, you might think it's a lot of money, and I know that a lot of you, probably all of you, don't. Insulation is not sexy. It's not something that you can show your friend, even if it was made out of gold dust. It's not something you can show your friends and relatives and guests, because it's in between two walls, interior walls and exterior walls, and all in between it is insulation. So nobody wants to spend hardly any money on something that they can't show off to their family and friends and say, oh, Daryl's back, and say, hey, I spent this much money on my insulation. Isn't it impressive? Whereas a lot of people wouldn't hesitate to spend 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 on their bathrooms or their kitchens or their basements. Wouldn't hesitate because they can show it off. Well, I'm more practical than that. If you have the money, by all means, do the best of everything. Do your insulation. In addition, put even gold dust in between your walls if you want to. Do all of it. But if you only have limited resources, forget about the kitchen and bathroom, whatever, being marble or whatever that people use. But put that into your insulation, because your house will be more comfortable, more cozy, summer and in the winter. So that's the thing that I want you to take into consideration if you're about to come here anywhere. Make a lifestyle change. Money. These videos will tell you, oh, I built my house for $500. I don't need any money. I make $100,000 leasing 1/10 of an acre, and honestly, the percentage of that, if it's at all true, is very low. I have not seen or heard of anyone that's managed to do something like that. I would say it's nearly impossible. Don't count on that. Count on needing a lot of money. What old folks around here say, the elders around here say, and they're from here. They're not like me, like city folks telling you this. These are people that come here, or maybe pioneers, or they came with no money, so they know how to manage money. Not saying they're misers or they're cheapskates. I mean, they know the value, real value, how hard it is to earn money. And if they would say money goes, then you have to understand that they mean money goes, because they would have held on to this hard earned money, and yet it went. They couldn't hold on to it. It had to be spent on your house, on your car, on your tools, on your whatever, on your seeds, whatever it is, folks. You're going to need money. That's why when people contact me about going wherever, but in particular here, if they're coming here to buy some land, or if I start my cooperative intentional community, that even if they wouldn't have to pay for land per se, they would still need to build a structure. How much? I would say absolute minimum that you should be considering, and I hesitate to even say minimum. I cringe, I get goosebumps just saying that, is $100,000. $100,000. Where would that go roughly? If you are coming to buy some land, say three acres at 15,000 an acre, that's $45,000 an acre. So of that 100,000, there's your 45,000 gone already. Now you have $65,000 left to build your structure. Now, obviously you're limited to what size this structure is going to be, but if you're handy, if you have friends, if you have volunteers, if you know people that know what they're doing, not just volunteers that you have to hold their hands and say, no, this is called a hammer. No, I mean people that know what they're doing, then you can build it for a lot less, because labor is a big percentage of anything, fixing your car, building your house, fixing your house, renovating your house. Do you know what I mean? So, 45,000 is very little to buy a house, very little. But if you can manage it, good for you. If you're handy, you'll do better. You'll be able to. If you do it yourself, you can do better. Here at the moment, as far as I know, don't kill me. If you build a structure in my neighborhood that's less than 600 or 650 square feet, you don't have to comply to. You don't have to have a permit. So they're not going to chase after you. So maybe you don't need a septic. Maybe you don't need to tap into the traditional wiring, power, hydro. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe. So at least that's good. But nonetheless, things cost. For instance, a solar assembly. I hear people talk about and say in videos and that. Price of solar panels have come down so much. Yes, but not yes. I would say more like no. So 10 years ago, you would buy, it was a buck a watt. That's how they're pretty much priced. So if you had a, say, 300 watt panel, one panel, 300 watts, you would pay $300 for it. Today, you pay $300 for a panel that's maybe twice as powerful as that. Sorry, at that time it was maybe 100 watts, so $100. Now you pay, if you may be able to pay $100 for 200 or 300 watt panel. But what I mean is the cost is the same, you're just getting more powerful units, panels. And believe it or not, they are only still today, 9 years after we bought ours, they're only 21, 22, 23% efficient at best. That's insane to me. I mean, what I mean is that these are the panels that are available to us. By available, I mean this is what they allow us to buy. We can get into not a conspiracy, we can get into that whole discussion of why, if there are better, more options available, why are we only able to buy 23% efficient panels? But that's, if you're here, maybe we'll get into a discussion like that. This is why when I start my cooperative intentional community, I'm always looking for people that are geniuses, that know how to do that free energy. Well, anyway, I said we wouldn't talk about that. Let's not talk about it. But then that's not the only thing that a solar assembly is. It's not just a panel plugged into a toaster or a washing machine or a dryer or whatever. You need, between there and where you plug in your thing, you have many other moving parts, not necessarily moving, but parts, like charge controllers, like inverters, like wiring. Folks, do you know how much copper costs today? I mean, it kind of fluctuates, but it's not cheap. It's not like 10 years ago, and it's certainly not like 20 years ago, when solar assemblies started getting going. What about labor? Do you know what labor costs today? An electrician, when we came here, the most expensive electrician was $65 an hour. I think now, it's $85 an hour, just in a decade. You think you can do it yourself? That's fine. This is what I was talking about. But if you cannot, that's a cost. And an electrician at 85 an hour, and when they charge you to come to your house. Now, you're not downtown anywhere, so he's going to charge you, like one of our electricians, more than one of our electricians, charge us an hour and a half of coming to see us, and there's another an hour and a half going back home, right? They're getting paid. They're not charging you 85 for that time, but they're charging you for that time. One of them did actually charge us 60 for that time. He wasn't even doing anything. He was just driving to get here. Do you understand what I'm saying? These are costs. These are real costs. Batteries. We bought our first batteries at $360 a piece. And they're still expensive, those nickel, cadmium, or whatever they are. You can buy them used. We sold them after 6-7 years for $150 a piece. Still adds up. How many do you need? How much power do you use? What kind of a consumer are you? I'm not a judgment thing. I'm just trying to tell you. You have to write down, and they ask you how many appliances you have, what they use, how often you use them. Based on that, they tell you what size of solar assembly you'll need. So these are all costs. Septic. Do you want to flush your toilet, or you want to have an outhouse, or you want to bucket it in the winter to a designated area to dump it? These are all costs. $100,000 is not a lot of money today. Wasn't a lot of money 10 years ago either, but it certainly isn't today, even if you're able to do your own things. Now, if you're building your own house, saving labor, it also means that you're also not going outside to work. How long does it take to build a house? Depends on the size of the house, based on the fit and finish. But the time that, it still takes time. The time that can you hear them? The time it takes to build a house for you, if you can do it yourself, is the time that you're not outside working for someone else, earning an income. So there was a time when we first arrived, when we were starting construction. Love it. We were writing a check for $10,000 a week, and this went on for months. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Of course, we spent better construction, better material, structures, more than one. I mean, the ground prep, but still $10,000 a week. And that's in 10 months, that's $100,000. But that's 10 months. In 10 weeks, that's $100,000. But I said it went on for months. So the other thing I want to mention, I think it's the third biggest thing, is that if you're a single person, you can do things, and it will be stressful, and it will take time, and it will be costly. Cost is something that's relative. You pay in this or you pay in that, but you pay the cost. Two people, a younger couple in particular, would do better because you're stronger. No matter how hard you work, you can wake up early in the morning. I wake up at 5:30, and you can work till late, as long as it takes, and you just crash. You wake up the next day, and I've done that, and you repeat. Wake up the next day, and you repeat. Wake up the next day and you repeat. I've done that. It can be done. I don't know if you can do it, but I've done it. So what happens if you're older? What happens if you're a single person? What happens if you have a kid? What happens if you have a pet that you have to? What happens if you want to keep animals? Every time that I added, every time I said what happened, you just reduce the amount of energy and the amount of money you have, and the amount of time you have to spend on what you need to do to get situated. If you don't have a job, let me put it this way, if you're a carpenter, you will probably always have a job. But I actually have a carpenter in the neighborhood that he is so busy. He built his own house by himself, but he's so busy that for at least a year, or at least a full year, he hasn't been able to put a siding around his house. A siding, what's a siding? It's exterior wall. He hasn't been able to finish his exterior wall. Why? Because he's busy working, and it's his own house. It looks like it looks like he's living in an unfinished house with his wife and daughter. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how busy carpenters are. I wouldn't say there's a shortage of workers and staff and people and crew and everything for all kinds of works right now. It seems to be, but carpenters are at the very top. If you are handy, you can always have a job. But if you're not and you want to learn, now is the time. And if you want to move here, now is the time to go and learn how to build things for your job security and to build your house. Here, right now, as we speak, even at this moment, I will hold workshops for people that want to learn and put to practice their videos, that their web-based knowledge, let's call it, into building log structures, log cabins that go like this way. You've seen like the traditional, or log cabins going this way, like I've built here. You find those people where you live, or go to a college or whatever the schools that teach you carpentry school. Better yet, find a carpenter and work for them, because you're getting paid to work. Now, even if you're not getting paid hardly any money, at least you're not paying the school fees. But find a good one, good reputable one, not ones that cuts corners. That's not what you want. Cutting corners literally came from that trait people. You cut corners. There's a saying that says, measure twice, cut once. I've seen so many carpenters to not do that, or even when they did it, they still cut wrong. When you cut wrong, that's a piece of board, piece of whatever that you have to replace, and there's a cost with that. Now, in my case, I reuse absolutely everything. Every bent nail I've made, straightened, reused for whatever purpose that I could. It didn't have to be shown somewhere. It could be an outdoor rustic structure, whatever. But not a lot of people do. It's a waste, and waste is not just going to garbage. It's also a waste of money. Do you know what I mean? Money that you don't have a lot of. Carpentry is what I'm saying you should go into. If you don't have a partner, a friend, family member, whatever, then look for places that are, I know they're rare and they're going to be very hard to, even when you find them, to be able to live in, like a cooperative, like I'm trying to start, or an intentional community. Someone, when you're there, if you're for instance, I'm going to be looking for people. I'll just talk about my own. I'm going to be looking for people that are that give more than they take, that don't impose, that aren't needy, that don't feel entitled. And when you're like that, other people might help you. Other people that are more established or situated, they might help you with what you need. They might bring you a meal. They might look after your kid. They might, while you're building, they might look after your dog. They might look after they might find something. They might know someone that's selling something that you could use in your structure. You know what I mean? They're invaluable. But alternative to that is to have a partner. Partner doesn't have to be a sexual partner. It could be a friend or a neighbor or a coworker that maybe even part-time wants to take this journey with you, but they can put into some time. It's very rewarding building your own structures like even this little outhouse. Very rewarding doing your own garden. These are all the good things that you become confident. You become self-fulfilled. You become proud of yourself for having done things with your own hand, built things or done things with your own hand. The connection with the nature that I have now here, which I didn't have till I came here. I knew that I love nature. I knew that I would do better here than in the city for 4 decades. But it's one thing to know, it's another thing to actually be immersed in this. Just like when you're immersed, imagine if you're immersed in the city right now with all the noises of the traffic, the sirens and the ambulances and the police and the conflicts with the neighbors and the work policies and the bad water, bad air, light pollution, the light that's on all the time. Any clear night, I can come outside and see this dazzling canvas of sparkly sky every night, because we don't have any street lights for one. So it's just as that stressful as that could be, just as um, healing this could be. But it comes at a cost, is what I'm trying to tell you. The good and the bad. There's a cost with everything. Cost. I mean, I know you're paying. Yeah, imagine you have a huge mortgage there, like we did in the city. Just imagine you're going to have a huge mortgage here too. Don't buy these videos when people tell you live in the country or rural for nothing. That's complete. I get very emotional when I hear this, because they're ruining people's lives when they tell lies like that. When they're being deceitful. Why? Just to get subscribers or followers or whatever, like, people, advertisers or whatever, and no ethics attached to that whatsoever. I have 100 subscribers, lovely subscribers that I contact from around the world that we talk to, and some are even homesteaders like me, and most of them might even be family members, so not even subscribed people that don't know me, and I'm grateful for them that I don't have 100 or even 50 or even 5 friends in real life. So virtually I have these people that I'm not going to tell lies and sell something that doesn't exist so that I can have 1 million subscribers. It's not even a question of karma, because I don't even know if I believe in karma. I believe that the programmer has written this program and we live in it. It's just the decency of not lying for the sake of making money off of someone that's going to now pick up their life and leave their current lives and go somewhere complete unknown, complete uncharted territories to them, only what they've seen on the videos that were lies anyway, and then find out that, oh my God, I can't make it here. The depression is the least of their worries. It escalates from the depression. You can imagine what I mean by that. Folks, I think I've said maybe too much for you. I'm sorry if you didn't hear what you wanted to hear. I do apologize, but this is the truth of the matter. And I know that saying these kinds of things, I'm not going to gain any subscribers or followers or advertisers or whatever, but here I am, humbled, eating humble pie every day. By the way, humble pie, just a quick thing before I go. Humble were the organs, that organ meat that people didn't eat, like the wealthy people didn't eat. So then the hearts and the livers and the giblets and whatever were the pieces that the wealthy didn't eat. The masters, the of the home didn't eat, and it went to the servants, and they made pies with those, and that's where the term humble pie comes from. Anyway, folks, let me know. Oh, I am here as a off-grid coach, or a coach if you're looking to move from the city. But no.